This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. Factory Stock Podcast, part of WFO Radio, is back. We are following the Constant Aviation Factory Stock Showdown season. You know, if you're an audio-only podcast listener, we started the Factory Stock Podcast a couple of years ago. Sam Tech at the helm, and Brian Massengill was my co-host, and they are still huge supporters of WFO Radio, and I always want to shout out to them. But when faced with, like, well, what do we do? Do we stop interviewing the stars of Constant Aviation Factory Stock Showdown and just let that category go? We said, no way, man. No way. So we are interviewing the winners in a slightly different way, but here on WFO Radio. And here's what I would hope and I would ask. If you love the category, as I do, we're all excited about Factory X coming too. Share the show. Share the show so you can get to know the stars, the people, the personalities that make Factory Stock Showdown what it is, because it's spectacular. We're coming off the Circle K 4 Wide NHRA Nationals out there at zMAX. We've got race winner Bill Skillman going to join us on the show. We had to get it in like right now immediately because they're racing again this weekend out there at the Virginia Nationals. Let's bring him on the show, Mr. Bill Skillman. What's up, Bill? How are you?
What's happening, Joe? How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for doing this. Such short notice. Everybody needs to know that, I, as well as Bill, we were both in like the Formula One vortex this past weekend, but now back to drag racing world. And we had to connect with you before the start of the next race. You won 4 wide. Quick note on, obviously, the significance of racing 4 wide and winning the first one ever. And then we can talk Formula One for a second or two.
Okay. Well, very blessed to be the first winner in the 4 wide. It was lucky. My lights weren't very good, but, at the end of the day, I was holding the trophy, and I'm very blessed. I feel very blessed. I had a really good car. We were having some issues with it leaving, and, hopefully it was transmission issues. We've had it rebuilt, so we'll see next week, or maybe I'm just old and washed up. I'm not sure.
You're not washed up. You're not old, but we'll find out this weekend, I guess. And you were running 2 cars, which I thought was very interesting. One in Factory Showdown and one in Competition Eliminator, and you did very well in both. Obviously, you won the Showdown.
Won the Showdown, runner up in comp with the Factory Showdown car, basically. Same combination. And it was the car that I drove, and then I'm driving what Drew used to drive, Drew Skillman, my son. And so we've switched to primarily driving the red car, and seems to be a little more aerodynamic, but both cars kind of ET the same. So it's very interesting. So both of them are really good cars.
So the comp version of the car, I had to, and you know how it is, Bill, like every run, we could analyze it a lot more, but we get 2 minutes, sometimes less. But you were letting an altered leave in front of you. And I thought that was really interesting, that this full body, power window, 9-inch wide tires, steel car is allowing an altered with maybe a small block or like a H alter. I don't know what it was, but he left ahead of you and you flew by him. If that doesn't tell you about the muscle under the hood of these cars, I don't know what will.
Yeah. You're probably looking at a 20-some-odd-hundred pound car, against a almost 3,600 pound car. So it's pretty impressive on a little bitty 9-inch tire and what these cars can do. And really, my hat's off to Tommy Lane, Dave Udini, and Joey for being able to tune this car and being able to get this car to leave the starting line and get down the track every time without spinning a tire. So very blessed. We really spun one time. We changed transmissions in the red car. I'm getting back to the factory stock car. We changed the transmission for Q3 because we felt like there was something wrong with ours, and with the one we had in the car that we'd had under the bench for 2 years, and we had tried some stuff on it because we were spiking the tire really bad. So that transmission didn't work. So we put our old transmission back in, and it just roasted the tire. So, but we got it calmed down for Q4, and for the race, it went down the track every time. So, it was good.
What did you think of the format? Do you want to do it again? Is really
I love the format. Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the format. It was awesome. I thought that the guys that I raced with in all the quads, so we had 4 qualifiers and 3 elimination runs. No one left early. Nobody was timed out in those 7 runs. I thought that was pretty darn impressive because when my son first went, when he was driving pro stock, it was a mess. I mean, those guys were a mess when they went there, and leaving early, not getting timed out. And I was really impressed how well everybody did.
That's great. And the visual of the, I don't know if you got to watch because you're strapped in the car, but they're so big, visually stimulating to watch these cars. Who's doing a big wheel stand? Who's just driving off the line? Challenger, Mustang, Camaro, all battling together. It was visually impressive. And to me, that's important.
Yeah. Well, these cars are so equal now. I think the Dodges truly have a performance advantage they've got much more boost than we do. Jeff Turk showed that they've got some real smoke in that car, and I expect the other Dodges to follow suit here pretty quick. They just make so much more boost than we do, like 22 pounds of boost or something compared to 14, or 15. So they've just got a lot more smoke. I think they've struggled with getting the cars to hook up and go. But they'll get that worked out. Those guys are smart guys that are running those cars, and it's just a matter of time.
Let's go there in that. I know that the Ford group was annoyed a couple of years ago that you guys had to make all the changes. It wasn't that they were making changes. It's that each change cost money and work, right? It's like, okay, you can tell us what to do. And every time we do it, it's 10 or 20 grand, a lot of work, a lot of effort. Like, hey, how about spreading the work around, make the Camaros do something to get faster, and then maybe make the Dodges do something to be slower, and spread the work around. That was, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, the genesis of most of the annoyance, not that NHRA was trying to equal the playing field.
Well, you have to understand that there were several things that went on. Ford did not have a voice in NHRA. They didn't sponsor races. They weren't involved at the time. And any money they spent was spent on, the funny car, of Tasca. And we just didn't have a voice. So as soon as we would run fast, we'd get another pulley rule. And it's not just the pulley, because it affects everything from the gearing and the transmission, the converter package you're running, and the rear end. So you're constantly spending money chasing. Then you got to buy a different pulley, got to buy different belts. It's not, the tune has to be different. Everything changes. And it's not, it sounds simple. Hey, they're giving him more pulley or taking pulley away, depending on what, who's getting what. And you just don't bolt on a pulley and everything stays the same. I know there's some rumors that possibly that they were, I'm hearing, I don't know if it's true or not, that somebody wants to bring the Fords to 10,000 RPMs and give us more blower back. Well, I don't know if that works or not. I mean, who knows what you got to spend to get back to even close to where you're at, Yes. Would it be more, would we have maybe more reliability? Maybe. We don't know. The Fords are, they're not really race pieces like a Chevrolet or a Dodge motor is. They're pretty much, they're stock, they were stock blocks that we ran forever. Finally, we Bear cast some blocks and got a little bit better block. But I mean, we ran stock crankshafts. I mean, a crankshaft that my dealership, cost $300, to buy. We run stock rocker arms for years, Nobody runs that in a race piece. We don't have the number of we don't have enough head bolts, in the cylinder head we have. It's just the way it's designed. It's a great motor, and those motors are extremely, powerful. Look at what they've done in, the GT350s, the 500s. They're a super motor, and what you can do with just a regular Coyote GT, or in a GT car, you can put a blower on it and super reliable. But when you start getting the type of horsepower we're running, it starts lifting the head and it makes it tough. I mean, the things need to be O-ringed, and there's a lot of simple things that don't add any more performance that could be done,
Yeah, the O-ring. You're not the first person to say that. I've heard that, and we'll see. So let's look ahead to Richmond. Some people are saying that the weather is going to factor in. I don't think about that because It either will or it won't, right? There's going to be a
Right.
lot of race fans hanging out at your pit to meet you and hang out. But you're in this for the long haul, for the championship. You got to win under your belt already. What's the strategy for your weekend?
You know what? Just go there and be prepared to run when we can run. And if we sit in the rain for a day or two, we sit in the rain, and be prepared to run Sunday and maybe Monday. Just depends on what happens. You know, I don't know what NHRA is going to do. If they'll send sportsmen home if it rains for the first 2 days, if we'll line up by points, or if we get a qualifier, is that how we'll start? I'm not really sure. You know, I haven't looked in a few days. I think there were 16 cars the last time I looked. I don't know what the current lineup looks like, but
I'll get that for you in a second. But exactly my attitude, though, right? Like, that's out of our control.
That's racing. I mean, you know, if you looked at the weather, you wouldn't go to half of the races you went to. I mean, when it shows 80% chance of rain and 65% chance of rain, and I've been there a lot of times. We ran every day, you know, when it was like that. And then I've been other times the weather didn't look that bad, and we never got on the track for 3 days or 2 days. You know,
20 cars entered. 2 Mustangs, yours and David Janik, the new Stanfield Power. And that's had some people asking some questions. You and I spoke before we clicked record on this one, and it's not what people might think. Like, you know, obviously you just won a race, right? Why would these guys not want to come race and win at an NHRA event where they ultimately get to be on Factory Stock Podcast? There's other elements that are maybe keeping the Fords back.
Yes, there definitely are. We have a lot of part shortages. I know with the Watson team, we've talked about, you know, there's no blocks available to speak of, or any blocks available. There aren't, you know, pistons, there's rings. Everybody's having issues, you know, valve train issues, just getting parts to put these motors together. They're so fragile that a lot of these, you know, I run an MCA and NHRA, so a lot of these guys have done both, and it's, you know, it's hard on the stuff, you know, and we've been tearing stuff up, and with no replacement parts, it's hard to go racing. You've got to kind of choose where you're going to stay and where you're going to race, you know.
Makes sense. Well, I am super excited about this weekend coming up. It's going to be great to go to an NHRA national event, but I know you and I were in the same place a couple of hours ago, and that was at Hard Rock Formula One Autodrome, and we got to take in Formula One. I've been talking on my show like nonstop for the past couple of, you know, weeks about how big a deal it was, because literally it's 5 miles from my house. You guys flew in. You live in South Florida or have a home in South Florida as well. What was your take, Bill? What'd you think of the event?
I thought that it was a tremendous event. Really loved the atmosphere. There were so many things to do, and so many shops and restaurants and bars, and you know, you had the yachts in the marina that were in with the fake water, and it looked super cool. They did a wonderful job.
Didn't they?
You know, I think
overall,
overall,
Bill, I agree.
I think overall they did a heck of a job for first year. I think it'll do nothing but get better and better and better. And I think it was a real winner for the vendors. I mean, the vendors were selling out of everything. I mean, guys, you're lucky. You go in there and try to buy a hat. They start at $50 and go to $120 for a ball cap.
Yeah.
I mean, F1, they get all the money for everything that they sell. Yeah. So a lot of pocket, you know what, there.
Who are you rooting for? Did you have a rooting interest? Did you go as a fan?
You know what? I've always been a Ferrari fan, but I do like the Red Bull team, and you know, you can't help but want to see, you know, the Haas team do good.
Yep.
They were actually making a pretty good run until little crash kind of knocked them out. But you know what? I like a lot of the drivers. You know, but I kind of always pull for those Ferraris for some reason. Yeah.
No, I agree. They sold out of Ferrari gear, the collared shirts, Friday morning.
I was there Friday morning, and there was nothing to be had on the Ferrari side.
So, okay, as someone who has raced pro stock with the family, and you know our events, I love our events, and I think our cars are as impressive, and I think we could make fans out of all of those people if they would come to our event. What if you could only pick like 1 or 2 concepts to borrow from what you just experienced to apply to our stuff? What do you think they would be? What would you do? You had to have thought of it while you were walking around.
Yeah, I don't know that I can say that on air.
Wow.
The viewership of women was pretty spectacular, as you might. There were some spectacular looking women walking around, and it's a different crowd. There's no doubt about it. It's a sophisticated money crowd from all over the world. So you have a lot of unique looks, and that's awesome. But I think just the way they display stuff and the way they make it fun for the fans and interactive for the fans. I mean, they had places you could take pictures all over the place with, whether it was a race car or the Miami F1 where you could stand in front of it, or you could stand in front of the marina and take pictures. It was awesome. The stands were phenomenal. I mean, they were not permanent aluminum stands, but they were all closed underneath, and really, really, really nice, really first class. They spent a lot of money putting that on. Of course, the tickets are very expensive too. So,
They were. Well, and that's what we were talking. I did WFO radio right before we connected, and that's why I was a little late. And that was one of the things we say, like I've never heard someone complain about being surrounded by attractive people. Like, no. I've never heard that complaint ever in my life. Like, that's one thing people don't complain about. Like, there's too many pretty people around here. And I thought that was pretty cool. So what have we got to do to get that? Bill,
well,
good luck.
I noticed everybody had a smile on their face. It was hot, as you know. It was short night, 90 to 92 degrees, I think. And humidity. Saturday, the wind really helped. Sunday was a lot more stagnant, I thought. But yes. Even the people hot, I mean, everybody had a smile on their face, and everybody seemed to be having a good time. And definite passionate fans. Holy moly. They have their drivers they love, and they are very, very vocal about who they like.
100%. 100%. It was great. And I think there's a lot to be learned, but also I feel like we've got something special to work with NHRA drag racing. We've got something special to work with, and we can grow. That was like, we don't have to grow to be like that. There's a lot of room to grow.
There's a lot of room to grow. There's always ways to market different and ways to offer experiences for the fans and the kids and the kids. The kids will bring the parents. If you take the kid to something, they like it, then the parents are going to come along. It's kind of like going to church, I think. If you can get kids to come early with friends, maybe they'll bring their parents, and your church base will grow. Same type of deal. You've got to have young people feeding that sport. It takes old people to pay for it, though.
Yes.
People with money, So and that's where the sponsors come in, in these NHRA events, and you have to bring people to the events. You never know who wants to put your name on your car, or it's all about marketing.
It's all about marketing. And we just got a lesson in the world's premier marketing for motorsports. And right. I think we all walked away with a smile on our face and our pockets a little lighter. But look at us. We're happy about it. All right, Bill, I will see you this weekend. Good luck. Obviously, we hope we have great weather. I'll come by and see you. Thank you so much for spending a little time with us on Factory Stock podcast, Constant Aviation, of course, supporting the sport. Really pleased to have those guys back in. And good luck for the remainder of the season. I'm sure this will not be our last time talking.
Thanks, Joe. I'd like to say one thing. Fans need to come out and visit the factory stock cars, visit the racers. There's a lot of great racers, a lot of really good competitive race cars, and you'll learn a lot. And these guys are friendly, and they're great guys to race with, and they're your rivals, but they're still our friends, which makes it nice. It's a good group of guys. Great group of guys. Oh, one more question. Factory X. Are you in? Are you doing something? You got something? What's the deal? Is there an order? Can you reveal? What's your status? You know what? Right now, I'm just waiting to see what this looks like. My dad always said that you don't always want to be a pioneer. They all got killed by Indians when they went out west. So sometimes you want to follow in the next wagon train, possibly. So, I think we want to see whether it's me driving the car or someone else. I think there's a chance we'll be there, but we'll figure it out. All right. I think it can really be a great series. I really do. They're going to be fast cars. Those cars are going to be over 200 miles an hour. They're going to be honking, and it's going to be a totally different experience for you know, a lot of the guys that I race with, I mean, I'm 60, and a lot of these guys we race with are older. And, you know, how long's it been since these guys have driven clutch cars? And, you know, so I kind of lobbied for a couple different things, automatics and clutches. You know, maybe there's a weight difference and stuff, but you know, they pretty much had an idea of what they wanted. And you know, we didn't have a body maker. The reason we didn't go ahead and order a chassis was there was nobody committed to building a body. My brain went dead. I want to say Mark III. That's not the name of them. Five Star was busy building the car of the future for NASCAR. So they didn't really have time to, you know, design this car and do the carbon body. So there really weren't any bodies available. So, you know, till that happens, it's hard to really build a car, you know.
Got it. Well, the trail is being blazed, and that's what Turk is for, right? He's got his almost done, and we'll see what they look like on track later this year. And if it's
Chris Brooks building a car, I'm sure there's quite a few others. I think Stephen Bell ordered a couple chassis, I think, from Haas, or that's what he told me. He was ordering a couple chassis when I talked to him last. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know,
Stan Holt told us he's got one coming.
Bring a whole new crowd of racers to this class. I think you'll see not just factory stock racers, you know, stock showdown racers in that class.
That's great. That's what we want. New, fresh, exciting. Love it. Bill, thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy.
Exactly. Appreciate you. There he goes. Bill Skillman, winner of the Circle K 4 Wide Nationals out there at zMAX Dragway. Will be out there in action at the Virginia Nationals. And Formula One fan, we got to get him on NHRA Talks F1. We're doing a lot of sub shows here on WFO Radio with Constant Aviation Factory Stock Showdown and this podcast, which is on a different and independent podcast feed. If you're listening to it right now, you already know that. But if you're watching on the video stream on maybe one of the factory stock groups, here, allow me to ask you your assistance. We are trying to grow this class by making sure everybody who watches it knows the drivers as well as they know the cars. And if you've got social media and you see this and you think, man, Bill's pretty cool dude, I want to get to know that category. Don't just click share or retweet or tell someone. We've got the audio Factory Stock podcast up, its own feed, and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. You can find this on our WFO radio. And in the end, it's about the people who are investing in these cars to entertain us, those of us who love cars. And so I appreciate everybody out there for doing that. We're going to the Virginia Nationals, the Virginia Motorsports Park, the first time back. But yeah, lots to be learned from F1. All right, everybody, thank you so much. We'll see you next time right here on Factory Stock Podcast. Congratulations to Bill Skillman. Good luck this week.
This is WFO Radio.